Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV. Player ratings time. Lucas is flying to the UK, so I brought in reinforcements. This is Mark. He has got his own YouTube channel, podcast, etc. Mark, how are you doing?
Not too bad, James. Your good self?
I'm good, mate. I'm over the moon after last night.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to be enjoying this for the next few days and then back to reality at the weekend. But before we get started on these player ratings, Mark, let everyone know where they can find you. And obviously, shout out your social media and YouTube stuff, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So, yeah, I'm the host of the Unsung Sport channel. So it's a YouTube channel that highlights the good work that goes on behind the scenes. So feel free to check it out. There's a really good interview there with the Assistant Sporting Director at West Ham, Mark Phillips. So that'll be of interest to everyone here.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Before we get started, Mark, how have you sort of assessed 2024? with West Ham? Has it been good?
It's been a nightmare, hasn't it? It's been terrible. It's not been fun to watch. Last night was an absolute breath of fresh air. Fantastic. I think everybody's, like I'm smiling. I haven't smiled watching West Ham this year, really. So it's been brilliant. A big surprise. I think everyone was surprised how they came out, but great that the shackles are off.
Yeah, there's no shackles at B&Q currently right now. I will say that because they're all gone. Right, let's get into this. Let's start off this man. Areola, I'll let you go first, Mark, as you are the guest. What do you make of him last night?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best games I've seen him play. So I'd rate him an 8. I think the 2 saves he made, especially the one down to his right and the one that he kind of clawed off David Seaman-esque with his left hand, really, saved us those 3 points. I think he was really good last night.
Yeah, I'm gonna make mine short and sweet. I thought he was decent last night. I think there was a save at 2-1 that I think if that goes in, it's a completely different game for West Ham. Like it really is. Like West Ham going at half time 2-2, I think they're all like that. We're all down instead of being up. So yeah, I'm probably going to agree with you. Like solid 8. I think he was decent last night. I will say that. Let's move on to this man who I do criticise quite a lot, but last night he got an assist. What did you make of him last night, Mark?
Yeah, again, I think I gave him a 7 because I think his crosses are not always there, are they? But the fact that he nutmegged a player and got across him was. Again, very Brazilian. So, I'll give him a 7. I think he done well last night.
Yeah, I think it's an hard one with Sefal because he does irritate me from time to time. He seems to go forward, check his run, then come back and pass it sideways and back. Last night, he was a completely different player. Just completely different player altogether. He was going forward. He was overlapping. He was doing a lot of other stuff that he hasn't done for a long while. Yeah. I'm going to give him a solid 7. Like I think he was all right last night, considering. Obviously, assisted the goal. Better from Sefal, we'll say that. So yeah, 7 for me. Now this one, it will be interesting. Kurt Zouma. What do you make of him, mate? Because I think he is the weak link currently at West Ham.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to criticise him because he has done well since he's been there. But I think it's clear for everyone to see that his legs are gone. He's good in the air still, but anything on the ground, he gets twisted and turned. Like, funny, he's the one that I just kept writing 5/6. I just couldn't work it out. He's a weak link, probably.
Yeah,
I was generous giving him a 6 from last night, but yeah, I think he's got to move on now. So I mean, Oggy, I love Oggy as well, but they're both just reached the end of their powers now. So I think we need a replacement.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. I really do. I thought last night, the first goal was careless from him, like to chuck it out there and just nowhere into no man's. And the second goal, he's really in no man's land. Like, yeah, again, he's miles away from the player. The player's just like is advancing, and he stands off him and just allows him to have a shot. And it's just for me, Zouma. I don't understand Zouma as captain. That's one thing I don't get. Like, he don't feel like a captain to me. That he's going to like galvanise this side. And yeah, I will give him a 6, but that's being kind. Like I think there was moments last night where. On another day, Brentford get in and score a few more. Do you know what I mean? With certain areas that he'd done.
There was a point actually at one point where he sort of made a marauding run into midfield, but it looked like he was running in slow motion. He just looks like a fridge whenever he moves now, and it was really obvious when I saw him do that. I was like, "Yeah, man, he's just gone."
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. It's a shame. Don't get me wrong, but then also it goes back to the style, though, Mark. Like. like if you're going to sit in a low block, he's perfect for a low block defensive unit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But,
like Harry Maguire. He's that sort of type, and he's fine in his box. Anything's lumped in, he'll head it away. But you can't turn.
I know, mate. I agree. But let's come to this man, the Greek god himself, Mavropanos. I'm going to say start off with this one. I think when he played Bournemouth and in the 1-1 draw, he had a really, really good game. And I could not understand for the life of me why Moyes took him out, brought Aguerd back in, and then since then we held 11. Do you know what I mean? We held 11 goals and it was just pain. He come back in last night. I thought he was excellent last night. Really, really good performance. I'm going to give him an 8. I thought he was excellent. I really did. Like, I don't remember anything he done a lot wrong last night. He was better than Zuma, and that's not saying a lot, but like, do you know what I'm saying? But I thought he was good, especially not playing for nearly a month now, I think it was. So yeah, I'll give him an 8. What do you make of him, Mark?
I gave him a 7 on last night. Jury's out on him, I think. I still don't think, like the Arsenal game, he was not the last Arsenal game, the one before that where he scored. He was really good. But again, I think he's got mistakes in him. Same with Aguerd. I think they've got mistakes in him. I don't think they're Zuma in his day. Like, he was just monstrous. I think he was brilliant, and I just had faith in him. Mavropanos isn't there yet, and I'm not sure if he'll get there. So, but a 7 last night, he done all right.
Is he our best defender for you currently right now?
Yeah, and that's a worry. I think we need two new centre backs. I would have said a new goalkeeper after Areola last night. I think he's, again, I don't think he inspires confidence behind the defence, but yeah, I think we need to. Defence is our weakest area, which I know we'll talk about this later probably, but being a defensive setup and having a weak defence doesn't really make sense. I think that's where we've been struggling. Yeah,
I agree, mate. I agree. Currently, right now, I'd say Mavropanos is our best centre half. I think Aguerd's all over the place. I think Zuma is he just isn't there. He just isn't there. Now, look at Obona. I think if you're relying on Obona to come in and be your best defender, then we have got problems. You know what I'm saying? So, what are you rating him, Mark?
7.
7 out of 10 for you, mate. We'll move on to this man who scored a blockbuster. I'll let you go first, Mark, on this one. Emerson.
I think this is the strongest defender we've got by far. I think he's absolute quality. He seems to get better. Yeah. Again, he was one of those that's kind of an 8 or 9 to me. I landed on an 8. I mean, what a hit though. I was sat there on the settee watching that with my son, and my son actually jumped off the settee. Like, that's what you want as a dad with your kid. You know, those moments. Brilliant goal. Didn't put a foot wrong. Went forward. So yeah, I'll give him an
8. Tricky one for me, because I think at the start of the game he was a bit shaky. Yeah, and West Ham he was getting doubled up on that side, and they was working him out. And then all of a sudden something changed, and then West Ham just started going forward better. Him, Paquetá, and there was someone else who was linking up. Well, I think it was Ward-Prowse, or Suchek, one of the two. And basically, once that happened, he just turned into his own. Like, he just come into his own as a player. Do you know what I mean? The goal is a great goal. That's right. Arguably one of the best goals West Ham scored all season. Do you know what I mean? So we can't knock it. But I'll tell you what, when he plays with Paquetá, he's a completely different player. If you look at the last month without Paquetá playing, Emerson's looked a shadow of the man of himself. Do you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, Paquetá comes back in, West Ham look a completely different side, and he looks a completely different player. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I agree. An 8 out of 10 is good. Right? I thought he was excellent. Right, especially in the second half. Like, I had one of the lads on last night, and they said, like, first half he was a bit like that, like a bit. Like, we didn't know what he was going to do, and then second half, I think something must have been said at half time. He come out and he was a completely different player and really very, very good. So 8 out of 10 for me, 100%. Right, let's move on to this man. Gets a lot of stick, but last night I thought he had a pretty decent game, Mark. Yeah,
shame he didn't put that one away. Lucky it didn't cost us. Yeah, again, he's another one. He's a love-hate with a lot of West Ham fans. When he first started, he covered more ground than any other Premier League player, didn't he? Actually, that's James Ward-Prowse now. He's the most covers the most distance. So again, as that role change, the whole Declan Rice thing. I gave him a 6, and that's probably just because I'm one of those. I don't think he's a great footballer, but he suits. Moyes loves him. I mean, we all know Moyes loves him. He won't drop him. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know that. We all know that indeed.
So
Where do you stand with him though? Where do you stand with him, Mark? Like in Souček, what do you see in him? Do you see anything in him or not?
I don't see him as a regular starter. I don't. Then who else have we got? This is the problem. But then I don't think we should play that many. Like Alvin Phillips is no solution. I think we all know that. So
yeah,
I was hoping that Phillips would come in, replace Souček with Ward-Prowse. That'd be a decent. That looks like a decent centre midfield pairing. But that's just not. I mean, he's had a nightmare start. So for me, Souček's probably he done okay. He's a good squad player, but I don't think he's not a top player, is he?
No. I understand what you're saying. If you want like the quality, he ain't going to be quality consistently. But I must admit, last night he was a threat. I'm going to give him just a 7 for me. It's just a 7. I thought it was one of the better performances that he's had in a West Ham shirt for a long time. He should have scored a goal though. Well, right, especially in the first 10 minutes. The ball comes in. That's got to be in the back of the net at the end of the day. If that's like on a different day in a different circumstance, that might cost us. That could cost us from having 3 points to 1 point or no points. Do you know what I'm saying? So I will give him a 7 because I think he deserves a 7. I think he run about. He was good in both boxes, and yeah, like he was pretty all right last night for me. Right, let's come to this man, Alvarez.
Yeah, again, another doesn't. I don't think you put a foot wrong. Really, I rate him a 7. I think he was solid. He's a tidy player, but he doesn't. I'd like to see him get forward a little bit more, like just try and swap around a bit, and because I think he has got that in him. He doesn't really seem to push on as much as I'd like. But a good player, good performance from him last night. Didn't do much wrong, so I'll put him as a safe 7.
What do you make of him this season, Mark? For you?
Yes, I think he's a tidy player. He's a good player. I think, again, if we could have the Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, Phillips, on paper, that looks like a really class trio for midfield. Really strong. But he's definitely in there. So I don't think he wouldn't be one that I'd swap out. So I think him and Ward-Prowse are the mainstays, that midfield.
Yeah, I think he's been an excellent signing. I think when we was looking to get him, obviously Lucas, who's on this channel, he was like, no, he's not that good. Like he's Mexican. shout out to all the Mexicans out there. Like the Mexican-US divide is strong. But I must admit, since he's come to West Ham, he's been a very, very good player for us. Like, and when he ain't playing, we notice it massively. Like you take him out the team, West Ham look like very like powder puff in midfield sort of thing.
Yeah.
So. I'm going to give him a strong 7. I thought it was a decent performance last night. I do like him. He's one of my favourite players, and ever since he's arrived at the club, I think like he reminds me of a captain. Like he looks like a captain who could lead this side in the future, and I hope he does. I hope he stays for a long time. I will say that, but we will see. Coming into this man.
Yeah, but again, I think he lifts the confidence of the team. So I don't think he had he didn't have an outstanding game, but I just think his presence gives everybody around him confidence to think there's a bit of class there, that actually something could be threaded through. So again, I went for a 7 on him as well because he's had better games. Yeah, but him in the side. I mean, I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but the amount of games we've won with him in the team versus when he's not. Yeah, it's night and day. So I just think he's somebody that lifts it, and I hope Man City bugger off and keep their hands off him. But I don't know.
I'll tell you what, if he ends up going to Manchester City, I fear for the Premier League, because if Pep gets his hands on this geezer and turns him into a player that, if he's good now, what's he going to be like under Pep's reign? Do you know what I mean? So I agree with you 100% on this. I said it last night. One of the lads said it last night. He breeds confidence into this side. Yeah. And I've said it for quite a long time, Mark. Yeah. When you look at Dimitri Payet, he was a man who could carry West Ham through bad times, but win games on his own. Paquetá can do that, but he's not as regular as that. But he instills influence and confidence in the team. Like he makes your Emerson go up levels. Do you know what I'm saying? And like players around him play better, and they feel more safer with it when he's on the pitch. Do you know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. He wasn't vintage Lucas Paquetá, but I think he's just presence there won us that game, and also like, do you know what I mean? Him being around the players.
He's one of those. He's like, as you say, like a Payet, like a Di Canio. He's just one of those that he's a talisman. He's one of those players that you think, crap, if we need to get out of jail here, he could get us out of jail. We haven't had many of them, so he's one of those that again, people will have his name on the back of their shirts because he just lifts everything. So quality.
Yeah, I agree. I truly agree with you on that, mate. I really do. Do you think he stays beyond?
No, sadly, no. I think no. The betting thing was a good thing for us to keep him for a bit longer, but he's City quality. He's that good. I think we all know he's absolute class. Not only is he great going forward, and he's got the tricks, he actually works hard. There's not many. I'm going to stereotype here. There's not many Brazilians who are flair players that are great going forward, but actually do the defensive shift. He does track back.
Yeah, I agree on that.
More earlier in the season than he has recently, but I think he's a good all-round player.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. I agree with Mark, 7 out of 10. We will move on to this man, James Ward-Prowse. What do you make of him, Mark?
I think it's been a great signing. I mean, I wish he'd bang in a few more free kicks, but then if we haven't been going forward even the Southampton's got relegated. Okay, so this is not a great example, but they attacked, and if they attack, then he's going to get more chances to have those free kicks where we haven't been doing that. But he covers more ground than any other Premier League player. He does the ugly bit, kind of Declan Rice role in a sense, in terms of he just mops up end to end. I really like him. I think he's a great signing. I think it was good when we got him, and I think he's a very solid West Ham player, kind of like a Scott Parker type.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think the free kick thing is sort of like on his back, like, because he's one away from equaling David Beckham's record, isn't he, or something? Yeah. And it's like he can't buy a free kick anywhere around the box. Every time he does, it's either like taking a deflection or it's just going wide. So I think he's been a good signing for West Ham. When you categorise what he's done pretty well at West Ham so far this season. So yeah, like I think last night, I said it to one of the lads last night on the afterthought. I said, like, what do you think of him? And he said, like, no one really notices him because he's just doing all the stuff that no one, he allows the attackers to attack and he stands back and just does the running. Like, if you've got a runner in the side, it does help. Do you know what I mean? Someone just to run around and do all the dirty stuff. What are you giving him, Mark?
I gave him a 7 as well. I think you're exactly right what you said. He does the ugly work. Unfortunately, everything now is about the goals and the going forward. But you need these type of players. So I think he's a solid player for us, and I'll give him a 7 from last night. Yeah,
I agree, mate. And Brian agrees also. JWP a 7, steady. If you've got a steady player like that getting 7s, like that's what we're after, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, 7 for JWP. Let's come to this man, Mohammed Kudus. I thought he was good last night. I do like this guy, I must admit. What do you make of him last night, Mark?
I gave him a 9. Again, he's another player that gets you off your seat. But what blows my mind is that Ten Hag took Anthony and not Kudus. Like, what were you doing, man? What an idiot. No, he's fantastic. He makes things happen. He doesn't mind taking a shot. Okay, that don't all go in, but he worries defenders of the opposition. He's always attacking, always looking to go forward. Yeah, he's capable of the spectacular. I think he's a brilliant player. I hope we hold on to him as well. I think he got a 9 last night for me.
I'm going to give him a strong 8. I agree with everything you just said. I think obviously last night there was a little barge in the first half and they was looking at it for a penny. I think, don't be silly, mate. Don't give away anything, especially with VAR and everything. But I do agree. He's a sensational signing. Yeah, and he's got that sort of, I've said this previous, he's got that sort of level where he can inspire West Ham also. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got Paquetá, Bowen and Kudus in the same side, West Ham can do some damage. You know what I'm saying? I think the sort of mini assist for the second goal, I think it was.
Cracking assist.
Yeah, but he passed it out to Soufal. Soufal puts it in 2-0. I think the third goal for Bowen with the cross, I love it. He eyes the player up. He runs the player down. The cross is an excellent cross. And he's just a quality player, mate. I really do agree with you on this one. So I'll give him a strong 8, close to a 9, but just not a 9 for me. But I do hope we keep him.
What do you think of it? Was it a penalty? For me, I think it was a penalty. I think we were very lucky to get away with that because there was that foul later on, exactly the same challenge outside the box, and it was a foul. So I couldn't see the difference even as a West Ham fan. For me, that should have been a pen. It's
clumsy, mate. That's what it is. It's just like when you're when you've got a player who's looking to make the referee make a decision, Like, it's lucky that the referee didn't make the decision. Do you know what I mean? Because if he did, then it could have been a completely different game. Do you know what I'm saying? Over something that, let's be honest, it was a silly challenge. Right? No, it's not even a silly challenge. It was a silly moment of madness, really. Like, to do that in the box, outside the box, I can understand it, but not in the box. You run the player down. But yeah, high 8 for me. Just not a 9. Move on to this man. He gets a star because I think we both know what he's going to get. Take it away, Mark.
Oh, you mate, 10 out of 10. It was. I can't give him anything less than that. He done everything, scored goals, didn't give up. Just chased everything down like he does in every game. He gives 100% every match.
Yeah.
For me, he's my. Paquetá's got the skills, but Bowen is kind of the Mr. West Ham of today. I think he just gives everything for the club. So he's fantastic. Brilliant goals.
Yeah, I'm going to give my rating. I'm going to have a little discussion with you about Bowen. 10 out of 10. Superb, flawless performance from him. Yeah, you can't ask for any more than that. Do you think, Mark, he's striker material?
Yeah, I think he could be. Yeah, definitely. Like in the modern striker, like he's no Shearer.
Yeah,
he's not that type. Those type of number 9s now are very few and far between. The Drogbas and those types. He's not that, but he's definitely. You're talking like the Liverpool front three where they had, and I'm not saying he's Salah or anything, but definitely I think that he could get enough goals. He works hard enough. He chases, but he can't do it alone. Like when we were playing the balls where it's lumped up to him, pointless. Yeah, he shouldn't be there. But in an attacking front three with Paquetá, Kudus and Bowen, that's dangerous for any club. So then he's a striker.
Is it a case of that, like with West Ham currently right now, with that front three that you've just mentioned, is it a case of that they all can interchange and it can cause defences a nightmare, basically? Because what you just said, I remember watching the Arsenal game, I don't know how to go back to that one, but it is bad. But when they kept hoofing the ball straight up to him, and you've got two big, like solid centre halves there in Saliba and Gabriel, he's not going to win nothing, Mark, is he?
That was the epitome of in his pocket. Like those defenders, it was pointless. It was a wasted ball. And that was one of those examples where Zuma was just lumping it, bypassing the midfield completely. Everything was just a hoof upfield, and he couldn't touch it. So at that point, that's Antonio material. That's what Antonio's was good at. I'll caveat that. What he was good at, you can lump it up, he'll hold it up, and people will get around him. Bowen can't do that. He's one of the shortest players in the team, so not his fault. But I definitely think he's a modern day striker.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Do I like Bowen there? Sometimes, but I just don't think all the time. I think it proved it really. I think last night he looked like he was everywhere and scoring ahead of goals. That takes some doing. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you're up against big, solid defenders. But I do think we need a striker in the summer. I will say that.
Yeah, right, Divine, unfortunately, is probably not looking like he's going to be quite the quality. He looks good in the under-21s, but I went to watch him at Colchester in the under-21s game, and he was nothing like against Colchester. So I just don't know if he can step up at the moment.
Needs a loan, mate. That's what he needs. He needs a loan move. Let's move on to the subs. Give us your quick numbers for these two lads. Obviously, Ben Johnson come on, so you probably ain't going to need to rate him. But Antonio, mate, what you saying about Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, he's had so... It's harsh to rate him so... Up with 4 or 5, you'd probably... I mean, he didn't really touch the ball. What he did, it kind of bounced off him. I mean, it always used to bounce. Antonio's never had skill, never had control. He's one of those, he doesn't know what he's going to do himself. And so that unsettles defenders. The problem is now he can't recover those bad touches. Things kind of bounce off him. He's not quite getting there. When I love Antonio, he's been amazing for us. But again, the problem West Ham have, we've got a lot of players coming to the end of their career now. We do need quite a big cash injection rebuild. And where's that going to come? I can't see where that's coming from. Apart from the Paquetá sale, and hopefully not Kudus. Yeah,
I agree, mate. I agree. What do you make of him on the wing last night? Because he was on the wing last night, Antonio.
Yeah, probably where he can do I don't know what's the best way to put this. I think anything played up top to him wouldn't have stuck last night. I just think he's so unfit. So I think that was a game where they're probably trying to get him back to fitness a bit. So if he loses it out in the wing, probably less damage. I don't know where he fits anymore. He's not the striker now, is he? So is he going to start? Will he end up in Kufal's spot? Is he going to go backwards? He's going to go from right back midfield, striker, and all the way back again.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't understand him on the wing side of things, because obviously the energy levels are up and down the wing. But I do agree with you. Last night maybe wasn't the night for him, but I'll give him a 5. I'll say a 5 out of 10 standard. Move on to the ref. Obviously, we discussed it earlier, Mark. We're lucky that we didn't get a penalty, or they didn't get a penalty. What do you make of him last night, the referee?
I think when you watch a game of football, in fact, he was probably on our side a bit more. To be honest, I think when you don't notice a ref too much, he's probably had a good game. And the only reason I noticed him was the point where we probably should have given us a penalty against us. So I'd have to give him a good rating. I don't think he did bad. I can remember. Yeah.
Not really. Like a couple of there was a booking. I can't remember who got booked for us, but someone got booked, and it was like a bit silly. But other than that, I thought he had a good game. Simon Hooper, I will say that. Makes a change. I can't remember the last game he refed us, but I think I do remember him, and it was a nightmare. So I'll give him a 7. Give him a 7 out of 10. What you rate? You gave him a 7, Mark?
Yeah, I'll go for 7 as well. Yeah.
Fair enough, mate. We'll move on to this man, David Moyes. Right. Mark, obviously new to the channel. I know your faults, but the audience of 35 people don't. What do you make? First off, what do you make of him last night, and then we'll get to Moyes in general.
I think the Moyes of last night was quality. That's the sort of Moyes that will win fans over. Shut the Moyes out people up, including me. You know, I'm a Moyes out person. I think that the fact that he could. We've got Brazil's number 10. Like, we've got Brazil's number 10 and we're playing defensive. That's the bit that drives me nuts. And I know he's been injured, but even before that. But Moyes last night was great. I think we didn't shore up. I think when we went 2-1 up, we let him back in it. And there's a couple of times when we let them back in it, we didn't really hold on to that. But I think he set us up perfect last night. And if you told him to go out and go for it, then boy, did they deliver. So can't knock him last night. So I'd rate him a 9, I think.
I'm going to agree. I thought it was a flawless performance last night. Some people say, the players done it in spite of the manager. I disagree on that. He's still got to pick the players. He picked Mavropanos, rightfully so. Like, it's not like common sense, but today it is common sense. Like, picked Mavropanos. So I thought last night was a flawless performance from start to finish. Like, I thought we come out strong. I thought we defended well, and their goals are just silly little errors, like slight little errors. Other than that, we should have cleared ours and not conceded. But 9 out of 10. Right, Mark. What do you make of David Moyes in general?
In general, I'm not a fan. The way I put it is, Moyes is very much a results manager. Where as a football fan, I see football still as an entertainment business, not as a results business. So the fact he grinds things out in a really poor way just doesn't excite me. I mean, the last game I went to London Stadium was the thrashing with Arsenal. I mean, I think that was at the point where I kind of snapped. And I know, like, a lot of West Ham fans did. I think, but overall, and I'm going to upset some of your viewers here, but because I see you've got the poster behind you, I still don't think that's a proper cup. I just do not like. I know that's going to upset you.
That's going to do me, mate.
But it's going to upset a lot of people that went there. But literally, it's like playing Football Manager in cheat mode. You've got a ridiculous squad, and you're playing League 2 opposition all the way through, pretty much. Right. Like, you should win it. You should win it. So, but the thing that annoys me is that they all keep saying, "Well, it's the first trophy West Ham have won in." But I mean, it's like winning the Intertoto Cup back in the day. Which actually we couldn't do, but now we've got a much better squad, more money, and I think he can't dine out on that forever. For me, he just can't dine out on it. But last night, don't get me wrong, last night was brilliant. If he keeps that up, he'll win people back over, including me. But if he reverts back to that defensive style all the time, honestly, it's just soul destroying. I can't watch it.
I've got to disagree, Mark.
I thought you would.
Right, I've got to disagree. I can't listen. That moment, like, will be remembered by everyone. Like, and I know what you're saying about the type of trophy that it was, but as West Ham fans, we haven't seen a trophy win for a long time, like hell of a long time. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, I think I ain't gonna say like you're knocking it. I'm gonna say in general, if people are knocking the trophy win, yeah, then what is the point in us? What was the point in all the fans coming out the day after Prague? What's the point of 40,000 being over there? Like, if people think it's just that sort of mediocre, then why would you knock it? Do you know what I mean? For me,
I didn't go. I didn't go.
Fair enough, right? But what I'm saying is basically is that if we're not going to celebrate this trophy, then are we going to be like that with a League Cup or something like that?
No, because I think the League Cup is much harder to win. I mean, it's we've never won that, so and the FA Cup was 1980, so I was only 2. So you're thinking like that they're what I call major honours. I mean, you're playing team. I've done a post on it. You've probably seen the video about when are we looking at the caliber of opposition throughout that tournament, and that you can only beat what's in front of you. I get that, but you're playing really small clubs compared to Premier League clubs. Like even for Fiorentina, Fiorentina, you probably put them on a par with Luton, something like that, and that's probably the best team that's out there.
Oh, I don't know about that, Mark. Last season, Fiorentina had a really good season. Obviously, they lost in the Coppa Italia to Inter Milan, and they lost that 2 or 4 days before they played us. I remember it was quite a close game. They had to move the game, and then they played us. So was Fiorentina a bad side? I've seen West Ham lose to a lot worse teams over the years. Like, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, even Bristol City. But I've seen West Ham lose against Oxford, Wimbledon, Wigan, like them sort of teams to go, you know what? Oh, I don't know about that. I get what you're saying in regards of finances. Like, because West Ham have got the bigger sort of budget, bigger club, and I get all that. But sometimes, like, the favourites don't always win, as I know. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I look at it a bit different like that. Like, that to me, Prague will always be with me. Like, I didn't go. Like, some of the boys who are part of this channel, WestHamOnline was in the chat, and a few others, they went, and they will remember it forever, sort of thing.
I think it's a great weekend away, but for me, it's not a great competition to win. Do you know, I was kind of more, and again, I was more excited that we beat Arsenal 5-1 in the FA Youth Cup. For me, I think, and I'm not the biggest competition, but actually I just really enjoyed that game way more than the Fiorentina game was a bit like most finals, big finals. Actually, they're very cagey affairs anyway. But I couldn't get excited about it. I couldn't. Looking at the teams, I couldn't. You had to Google them, most of them. You're just like, should we be in this? Should it just be I don't know. I just couldn't get excited by it. Sorry.
Well, listen, I loved it. I always say that, mate. And I always love it. Do you know what I mean? I understand what you're saying. Obviously, everyone's got different preferences. But for me, the 7th of June, 2023 will always stay with me forever, mate. Because, like, when you've seen West Ham get relegated so many times, and you have, Mark, you've seen West Ham get relegated with one of our best ever sides.
Yeah,
like in 2003. So, like, when I've seen that, and I've seen basically the pain of going down, losing all our players, and just falling apart, that trophy win will always be a great moment for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I always taking it in. Do you know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying. In regards to the future, Mark, right? Where do you think it's going to go with West Ham in regards to Moyes? Because obviously we've got an owner who is a bit incompetent in what he's doing at the minute.
Yeah, I think. Again, I don't think he can change his philosophy in the rest of the season. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think probably the right thing, I think Carragher said this, that, he should just see out the end of his contract and then we should look. So we've got time to plan for somebody else. Now, I don't know who that's going to be, whether it's Potter or, all these names mentioned, Tuchel, whoever. But I think there's bigger problems at the club. I think we all know that there's the whole Ter Stegen thing, Moyes, like even Mark Noble, trying to bring those players through. Again, coming back to Mark Phillips, that conversation we had around him saying that we've got a golden generation at West Ham. They won the FA Youth Cup. None of them can get a game. We beat the Liverpool, I don't know if we played Liverpool, but, we beat the teams where these Liverpool youngsters are coming through in Carling Cup finals. Other managers are giving them a chance. Arsenal kids getting a chance. We don't seem to give ours a chance. I just find that odd. If we've got such an academy, why do we never get them through? So I don't think Moyes is ever going to change that, because you know, if you're an opposition manager and you're getting that team sheet, you know who Moyes is playing. You know, because
But have West Ham gone up to a standard now? I understand what you're saying about the youth. Don't get me wrong. I think some youth players have to come through. But this is where you've got a bit of a crossroad with the West Ham fans a little bit. Some fans want West Ham to bring in back the youth, basically, bring in younger players and build the side. Other people look at it and think, well, hold on a minute, we've moved from Upton Park to Stratford. I want us to go out and buy a Lucas Paquetá, a Mohammed Kudus, a Jarrod Bowen. Can you see what I'm saying? So where's the middle? Well, where's the line in the sand, basically, Mark, for you?
Well, I mean, Liverpool fans, the bigger clubs, top four clubs would say the same. They've got money to burn, but you know, they bring the Curtis Jones through and the Sakas, and I mean, again, not saying we've got those types of players, but I think they give them a chance to come in. So yeah, I just think it's probably the right time for Moyes to just say, let's move on. Plus, as well, the financial fair play is going to hamper us doing that moving forward as well. Yeah, because I think there's more shocks to come in that across Premier League teams. So I don't think we can go out and do what the cities and that have done. And also, who's going to stump up? Because Czech billionaire is not putting his hand in his pocket, as far as I can see. I don't really know what he's doing behind the scenes. There just seems to be something funny going on at the top as well, and I think that's hindering us as a club as well.
What do you make of the ball, Mark, for you?
I'm surprised that when Gold passed away, Sullivan didn't sell up. I thought, he's done everything with him at Birmingham and here. And it's like, they've done that for a long time together. Yeah. I know he's probably going to pass it over to Jack, but you think you just sell up, wash his hands, retire off into the sunset. I don't know how old he is now, but, does he need that stress? He'll have all the money he ever needs. And then we'd have something fresh. I was waiting for that American ownership. Hasn't come. Or Saudi ownership would have been nice. But, I think something has to change, but I don't know what, and I don't know who's going to blink first.
I'm going to ask you something. Do you think that Sullivan's asking too much for a side who's not a elite Premier League outfit? Like, when you look at West Ham right now, you look at West Ham and he's looking at what? Between 600 to a billion, really? Like, with all the surrounding areas and everything. If West Ham get their hands on that stadium, like, it could be anything between them two numbers, yeah? Do you think he's asking for too much, that other investors, owners, like potential buyers are looking at it and going, why am I going to go here when I can go somewhere up north or in a different country where it's going to be less?
Oh, there's a lot of land. I mean, yeah, you're right. If we get that stadium, which we stole, again, we nicked that. So you have that. If we can get that stadium with the second highest supported, highest attendance in the Premier League, the best league in the world. I mean, that's what annoys me about pundits when they say West Ham should be happy to be mid-table. We shouldn't. We moved to that stadium to have those crowds, to generate that money, to really push on and kick on. I don't think he's asking too much. I think the potential is massive for West Ham. I think the potential really is massive. The fan base is die-hard, global, and do what City did. Put all the City weren't bigger than West Ham, were they? In terms of, you probably say that's unfair. You probably say City, up north are as big as the West Ham were, obviously bigger now because they set up all these satellite clubs around the world. Brilliant business model. Why can't we do the same with the right investment?
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. To round this up, Mark, what's next for West Ham and Moyes? I.e., what do you expect from this season with him?
Well, I don't think we'll do great in Europe. I think our squad's too small for that. Sadly, and it's that is a proper competition. I'm not going to harp on any more about that. But I think if we we'll probably end up with the conference again. I think that's probably where we'll potentially finish if he sticks with what he played last night. Doesn't revert back to type. But I think after last night, it's given me a bit more confidence that we'll finish in the top half. Hopefully, we'll just touch on those European places. But I think obviously that'll be it. But that'll do.
Is the conference a success though for West Ham? If West Ham get conference this year, say West Ham finish 8th, is that a good season for West Ham considering?
Not considering where we were. I think we've had a nightmare spell. I mean, Arsenal had a dodgy spell over Christmas, but they only lost a few games. We've lost a lot, which is a shame. We lost that ground. We were above the the Man U's and the likes. But like quite a bit. So yeah, I think it's going to slightly peter out, and I just think that the small squad's going to come back to bite us. We've got, as I've said before, one of the oldest squads, if not the oldest, and the smallest. So our bench has always got kids on it, and he doesn't bring the kids on. So that's just going to catch up over the season if we don't rotate, and he doesn't rotate much.
Right, give me a number. Where are we finishing, Mark, for you?
Yeah, I'd probably say 8th.
8th, yeah.
Yeah.
I think West Ham may slightly squeeze into 8th. I think it's going to be like touch and go from now to the end of the season. But it also does depend for me how we get on in Europe, i.e. like Europa League. So for instance, we get past Freiburg and then we get to the next round. If we get a good draw in that, you just never know. And let's be honest, West Ham did get to the semi-final a few years ago, and they did beat the likes of Seville and Lyon, who are pretty good, were pretty good sides back then. So it's nothing would surprise me if West Ham could get to a sort of quarter-final, semi-final of the Europa League. I don't think West Ham are going to get to the final. Like, I'm like you, I think it's going to catch up with us in the end, and that's where the ownership come into play, because the January window, I was calling it for a long time. I just said that they need to invest now and don't do the same mistake twice, but they did. So I think 8th is a possibility. Final question, David Moyes. Does he sign or does he say goodbye?
Say goodbye. I think it's naturally come to an end. I think it'd be good for him to bow out, just letting his contract run, not being sacked. And I think it'd be good for us to have that time to find someone else, because he's put this squad together. He's been there long enough that he has assembled the squad that is the oldest and the smallest. It's not like he's inherited this squad. I think there's a rebuild to be done. I don't trust Moyes to rebuild it.
Yeah, I understand that, and I hear a lot of that from a lot of people who basically say the same thing about the rebuild. Like they've got no faith in David Moyes to do it again, so to speak. For me, I think if he gets Europe, can I see him walking away and handing it over to someone else with a European campaign? That's the $1 million question for me. I think you'll know more. If West Ham finish 9th, I think he walks. I really do. I think it's that black and white. Mark.
Well, there was a thing on TalkSport, which I think you might have talked about, where they were saying Moyes is a great manager, and then they said, well, where's he going to go in the Prem? And they couldn't pick out a team for him. And I think that's the problem. Like if Moyes, where would Moyes go? Where would he fit at another club? I don't know where he'd fit in the Prem. He's huge amounts of experience, but I just think his tactics and his style is just a bit old hat now. So maybe he will stay if that contract's there like he says it is. I'm not sure it is. I don't know if that's all paper talk. We'll never know. But I don't think it is. I don't think he'll just walk away at the end.
What do you make of the fan divide, Mark? Obviously, like you've seen it, I've seen it. I've done the YouTube and I've seen it. What do you make of it in regards to the split in the fan base?
Well, that's football. Football's about opinion, so I'm never worried about that so much. I think it's getting. I don't want it to get like the Wenger out thing, like the Arsenal fans, and that's kind of where it's going a bit. And I think, actually, funny enough, if you jump on any fan channel, Facebook page, West Ham Facebook page, or anything, and you say Moyes out to a Moyes inner, you just get trampled on. So that then becomes a bit spiteful, and I think that's where it's unhealthy. But it's online trolls, isn't it? People are going to do that.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is there's two sides of the coin on it. Yeah, on the one side, there's people. I have a lot of young lads who come on this channel. Yeah, a lot of people who's in their like 20s and all that. And let's be honest, as older fans that we are, Mark, it's the best we've ever seen in regards to consistency. Like not the football wise. I think you take the football out and you put the consistency level of Europe, and not just being in Europe, like actually doing all right in Europe. Like we've done all right in European competition. I think some people look at it and get pissed off with it to say, well, hold on a minute, he's our best manager that we've had for a long time. Right, and there's people wanting him out the door, not just wanting him out the door, people will string him up and throw him out in London Stadium. It's getting that bad. Do you know what I'm saying? What you've said there is exactly what I've been saying for a long time about the in and out. I know a lot of Arsenal fans, and they turned around and said the same thing about the Wenger situation. A lot of people respected Wenger for what he did. And a lot of people wanted him out the door because he couldn't go on any further. And you had the two, and that's why the clash was happening. So I understand what you're saying there. and I do think it is generational, as James says there. You're right, James. It's young versus the older generation.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I have always said this for a long time. Yeah. The ownership of the club should have made a decision last year, and they didn't make one. They just allowed it to carry on, and the problem is, the moment Moyes does go, or whatever, yeah, because if he gets Europe, I think he stays. I think he signs the deal, and he goes right, because I don't think he's just going to give Europe to another manager. I can't see that one at all. Yeah, if he does go, I think it just kills everything stone dead. Like everything goes back to being normal. We've got a new manager, new future, and we go in a different direction, and everyone hasn't got to be at each other's throats. But I do understand what you're saying about the Moyes out situation, because it is toxic at the minute.
Yeah, it's coming back to something you said earlier as well about, we need a new striker. But you look through that team, we need a lot of new players. I think, so we need a war chest. So anybody coming in as well, and we know how badly burnt we got with Pellegrini. I mean, that was an absolute crap show. So for us, we've Sullivan doesn't like foreign managers, and so then you're probably looking at a Potter. And I mean, Potter done great at Brighton, but he had a brilliant. Brighton is such a well-run club. I have to say that they're an amazing run club. Scouting is absolutely first class. The people they pick up, but we won't have that. So will he be as good if he is the man? I think that's probably the obvious choice. I'm not saying it would be my choice, but I think that would be the obvious choice for West Ham.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens in the future. But Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. I really do appreciate you giving me your Tuesday evening and talking West Ham, Brentford.
No problem.
Shout out your channel, Mark, and all your social media outlets, mate.
Yeah, just go over to Unsung Sport. Just check us out there. It's behind the scenes look of anything football. But no, I really appreciate you letting me come on, James. It's been quality to talk West Ham. I don't usually do my channel with a West Ham shirt on, so it's good to get the claret and blue on.
No worries at all, mate. No worries at all. Listen, people, go over and subscribe to his channel. Mark's a good man. I don't agree with him about that over there, but it's like, that's what it's opinions. About. Difference of opinions, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I ain't gonna hate him for having these opinions. So there you go. I'll be back during the week. I'm trying to get an Everton fan to come on. Big game Saturday at Goodison Park. We need to have a win, and we don't win at Goodison Park. I will say that. But whatever happens, enjoy this week wherever you are, and I will see you again in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and above all else, each other. Peace.